people always ask, well, why didn't C.S. Lewis become Catholic?
Why didn't C.S. Lewis become Catholic?
You've
Dale?
just asked the question again. Per what I was saying, people always are asking that question. Well, Chesterton answered the question, even though he never knew C.S. Lewis, but he answered the question. He wrote a book on William Blake, the English mystic and poet and painter. And in that book, he says that if every man lived 1,000 years, every man would either be a nihilistic atheist or a member of the Catholic Church. He said those are the only two options. Chesterton said this. And so he said, people were wondering, was William Blake a Christian? Was he Orthodox? And well, Chesterton says there's some weird things about William Blake, but he's on the right road. And if he had lived longer, he would have become Catholic, because he certainly was not moving away from the Catholic Church. He wasn't moving towards this nihilistic atheist. He was moving towards a fullness of faith. And he just didn't live long enough. The answer to the C.S. Lewis question is he didn't live long enough. He was on his way to becoming Catholic.
So what evidences in his life and writings do you see of that?
With C.S. Lewis?
Yeah.
Well,
the acceptance of purgatory would be one.
The acceptance of purgatory is a big one. And basically, he had, in essence, accepted all 7 sacraments before his death, which, he had the sense of the real presence. He had a sense of confession. He was embracing all those things. And the fact is, his arguments are becoming more and more Chestertonian in all of his writings. When I read Chesterton, when I read Lewis, I always, well, here is where Lewis got this argument, because here's Chesterton making the same argument, and
that
Lewis would have read it.
Here's your new book idea, side by side, Chesterton, and then what Lewis picked up.
Good, I'll put that on the list, because I got to get 3 more books done, but that'll be the 4th one, right, Matt, and I'll give you I'll dedicate it to you.
Just a dedication would be sufficient. Thank you.
Yeah. But now here's the other great thing though about that William Blake book.
Yeah,
Chesterton wrote that line 10 years before he became Catholic himself.
Oh. Fascinating.
Yeah. So he's clearly saying there's really only 2 options. Just like Steve Ray was telling that guy, either you run away from the church or you join it. And that's the 3rd stage of conversion. You're trying to get away from it, but ultimately you're going to turn around, you're going to enter it, or you're going to leave. But it ends, as Chesterton says, with your head bowed. It's an act of humility to enter the church. And when you enter, you see that the church is larger on the inside than it is on the outside. And all the time you were out in the narrow, dark place. And inside is this place bigger than the universe.
And what did he say in that regard about stained glass windows and the comprehensibility of Catholicism from within? Is that his idea?
He talks about stained glass windows in another essay called The Fading Fireworks, where he talks about the difference between fireworks as an art form, which is Eastern, the idea of this explosion with a dark background, and so it's light against a dark background, and stained glass is the light comes from behind the art and illuminates the art, and so it's the difference between the Asian or the Eastern philosophy and the Western philosophy. One is flashes of light in the darkness. The other one is the illumination of everything from behind, because the eternal light is behind everything that we see.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I heard someone say, it may not have been him then, that just when you look at a beautiful cathedral from outside, the stained glass windows are incomprehensible. It's only once you enter that it makes sense. And the idea being that sometimes Catholicism can be confusing until you allow it to pull you in with its tractor beam.
I'm going to say it wasn't Chesterton that said that.
How frustrated do you get when people attribute false quotes to Chesterton?
There's no such thing as bad publicity. So, in fact, I think Chesterton's probably his most famous quote
is one
he didn't say. He almost said it, but he didn't say it. But everyone quotes it wrong, and we'll just let it go.
Do we not want to point out what it is?
Well,
or should we just let it?
We could. It's when a man stops believing in God, he doesn't believe in nothing. He believes in anything.
Okay,
it's not what Chesterton said, but we're not gonna quibble.
It's a good quote.
It's a Chesterton idea.
What did he say similar to that, or was it?
He did say once that a pagan is not a man who believes in nothing. It's a man who believes in anything. Okay. He did say that, which is pretty close to it.
Yeah.
But he also says in a Father Brown story, that he says the first effect of not believing in God is you lose your common sense.
Okay.
But then in another Father Brown story, he says, you see, you were willing to believe in anything. As soon as you stopped your superstition, you were willing to believe in anything. So if you take those two quotes and put them together, you get the quote from two Father Brown stories. So the concept is there.
Yeah.
But so to answer your earlier question, people, if it's a good paradoxical quote, it's often attributed to Chesterton.
Yeah.
And that just shows that he has that effect on our thinking, that if it's a paradoxical line, if it's something catchy and witty and quotable,
it's true.
It was Chesterton who said it.
Yeah, it's funny, whenever you find a quote that apparently came from Thomas Aquinas, if it's too sugary or sexy, like he never wrote that. It's difficult to mine Aquinas for really cutesy little quotes, but Chesterton, if he does one day become a saint, will be the saint of excellent, quick, short.
The saint of the aphorism.
Yeah. Golly, that would be an amazing book.
Yeah,
all of his aphorisms together. There's your next book.
I maybe I'll move that up ahead of the other. It's the C.S. Lewis book.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, do us a favor, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the video, like, and subscribe.